Hey chatters. So this is a little bit of self-promotion here, but I'm also going to teach you something too. Synaptic Labs has started offering our own chatbots. Now, these price points are high, I understand, but this is if you really want that bespoke consulting, like we'll build the chatbot for you and host it and all that kind of stuff. But you can just make your own chatbots for just this 20 bucks a month with our services. So I'm going to show you what that looks like, and we're going to build a chatbot together. Here we are creating our first chatbot. You can skip all this stuff, but this is a really good way to walk you through the main things you're going to have to do. So first, you're going to choose your persona. Now, obviously, you can pick whatever picture you want here, but let's go with our knowledge expert, Nick. And you can create your initial greeting. All this stuff you can change later on. So again, if you don't feel like doing this, you can just keep skipping ahead. Do create chatbot, and we'll have some other stuff we can fill in. What's the purpose? Let's just say knowledge guide. So where's this email going to go to? And then whether or not it's going to use its own knowledge or only the given data that you give it. So we'll leave this for now. We'll give it a name. Again, you can upload an image of any kind. How large do you want the text to be? And then the user message color and the button color. Again, you can always change this later. We're just going to continue. Then you can upload any sort of website you want, or you can come here to the website map and you can input the entire map. All this is you take the website, you do slash, and then you do sitemap.xml. It's the easiest way. Lastly, you can upload pretty much any file type that you possibly want. Once you've done that, there's this extra stuff, but we're just going to proceed to Chatbot for now so we can actually go into editing it ourselves. When you first enter, you're going to be graded by the dashboard, which is just going to give you a quick little chart on how many conversations and when this chatbot is having, the name, and some other information. Next up is the inbox. Obviously, there's nothing in here yet, but you can save every single conversation that occurs with this bot, and all those conversations are going to start here. And you can search for them either by date or by searching for something. Next up, we got a more differentiated set of sources you can upload. So again, we have the files and the websites, but you can also do images, tables, Q&A, your Google Drive you can hook it up to, and YouTube. It can scrape those transcripts for you and show those videos. Now we're going to get into actually building out the agent. We have this simple agent it started us off with because we used a template, but you can do a blank one or create a new one. We'll go over those options in a minute. Here we have some more stuff to configure: the agent's name, the description, what model you want to use, how you want to distribute this thing's context. So do you want to reserve a lot of it for the knowledge base, or do you want to reserve most of it for the input or the output, whatever it might be? So you have plenty of options here, and it describes exactly what they do. Then you have your prompt. This is, again, where the magic happens. And if you're not coming to us for services to build out these prompts, you'll just create your prompt here that you want the chatbot to follow. It's just like a system instruction for ChatGPT or whatever other model you use. And then lastly, the temperature. You just up and down how creative you want this thing to be. Another option you have is just how do you want this knowledge base to be controlled? You can give it access to Google search, so it can actually go and search the web. You can have it look at all the sources or just some of the sources, and you can use our advanced hallucination detection. It's not going to be perfect, but again, it's going to keep it on track more than if you're just using normal ChatGPT. We won't be covering functions in this video, but just so you know, you can also add different tool calls if you want. Now that's just one agent, but we have the option to actually have multiple agents and have us routed to those agents based on how we're interacting with the bot. So if I hit create new agent, we have, again, a bunch of these templates you can use, but you don't need any of these. You can make whatever you want. Once you have all of your agents set up, we have this supervisor settings, and here you can create rules which help guide, again, what are we doing? Like, what agent do I need to be talking to? So right now this is disabled, but we can go and edit it, and you have some options here that you can choose from. More importantly, though, is the intents. This will happen after you do your prompt. And essentially what it's saying is, okay, I need to be looking for these user intents and sticking to them. And so again, if you have a knowledge guide, but then you also have some sort of defensive bot that stops it from answering weird questions, right? It needs to know what the intent you're looking for the user is. So if it strays from that intent, You can now have it go to another bot that says, nope, sorry. And then bias and stickiness, you don't have to worry too much about this, but essentially the idea is once we get to a certain bot, do we stick with that bot? And also in terms of the bias, like what is the preference level we want for each of our bots? So if we want our main bot to be the knowledge guide, we want the bias pretty high up there because generally we want it to be that bot. That's it for the chatbot side, but now we got our look and feel and how this thing operates. So now we're in customizations. Let's walk through what you actually have access to. Please note, depending on whatever sort of thing you've signed up for, you may or may not have all these options. First up is security. Typically, it depends on what you're doing, but if you're embedding it somewhere, you're going to want to embed. Public is just you can put it on any website, or private, you really need to say what domains are allowed. And here we go again. You can either allow or disallow certain domains, your website that it's allowed to be used on. This way, if someone gets that link and tries to embed it on their own website, it won't work for them. You can set message rates so people don't put you out of house and home. A default error message for when it runs against that rate limit. And then setting a rate limit per month for a user. Next up, we have our conversation settings. Really, the main one here is, do you want to cache the conversation? Do you want to keep that history? And if so, for how long? This way, if you or a customer leaves and comes back, the conversation will still be there for them to pick up. We can enable upvoting and downvoting as well as the copy button. So you kind of want to know if it was a good response, right? That'll go into the knowledge base. It's going to help the model do better responses in the future. In-text citation. So we had that knowledge base that we uploaded. This is going to allow the person using it to actually see. You see this 1.1 here, the test source. You can actually go and see where it's pulling from. And last is source access. So this allows people to actually see what have you attached to this bot. You're probably not going to want this on if you're making it more public. But the idea is if you want people to actually be able to download that thing from the knowledge base, you want to put this on. Can also set up a disclaimer here. So if we turn this on, all it's going to say is, hey, look, like this thing can screw up, right? So you can write whatever you want in here. Next up is human handover. So you might have customers who you can funnel into this chatbot to answer most questions, but some will actually need that human touch. So this is where you can set that up. We can go into more detail in another video on how to actually set this up. But the idea is we do have the capability to hand things over to a human if you need that. Next up, we have some user data management. So you can give people the ability to upload files, or yourself the ability to upload files and look at them and ask the file a question. We can label conversations. We're not going to get too deep into that, but the idea is if you want to categorize your conversations in any way, we do have the ability to automatically tag responses. You can set up forms for people to fill out in this chatbot. I'm not going to talk much about webhooks, but essentially you can have some sort of trigger that happens, which causes another thing to happen. You can send these chats and notifications to your email so you can keep up with them. And you can make it so that anyone who uses this has to identify themselves. They're essentially in your bucket account, whatever it might be, they're allowed to use this thing. Last up, the fun stuff. So we have the appearance and style. You can set things up generally. Again, I said you'd have a chance to change all this stuff. So here's where we can give it a name, upload the logo, set our dimensions, the font, the size, light or dark mode, anything that you want to do. For the messages itself, we can give it an avatar. So we still have Nick here as our avatar, but you can upload any image that you want. You can also turn it on and off so that it's not there. And then if you want, you can put a little message in that starts down here to help guide the user if you think they might get confused. We can also create some suggested prompts. I have this little suggested prompt, click me. You can see it shows up. And all it's doing is it's sending a prompt saying I'm a prompt. So if I click this, it's going to come up with I'm a prompt. But you can add whatever you want, as well as things like links or to send an email or any other sort of label that you want to make it easy for folks to know where to go or help navigate them. Last but not least, we have this little bubble icon down here that you can click if you embed it directly in your website. And so you can change that icon, you can change it to your logo, pretty much anything you want. Now that we've fully set up and tested our chatbot, we can go live. We can either set up a link. This will just take you to a website with the bot on it. You can embed it in an existing website or as that bubble we talked about. We also have a bunch of other integrations here that just come with it, so you can easily set these up. so that the AI can talk to all of these different websites or platforms. But we also have an API. So if you need to hook it up to anything else, you can just let us know and we'll be happy to help you. Slash, if you know how to do it, you can just set up the API and do it yourself. So that's it for our chatbots. Again, you can just come to synapticlabs.ai/agents, or if you want to just set up your account, go to agents.synapticlabs.ai. And then once you're signed up, mess around. You'll have I think 14 days at this point, free to just mess around and see if you like it. And then if you want to help us set up anything, feel free to reach out. And I hope you have a good time setting up your chatbots.